All right, everybody. Good evening. My name is David Weinstein. I'm director of Camp Tel Yehudah. Hope you can hear me okay. Somebody send something in the chat saying you can hear me okay. All right, I don't know if anybody hears me. Oh, you can hear. Thank you, Lior, and thank you, Douglas. All right, so welcome to our virtual open house. We wish we were up in Barryville, New York right now, but instead we're here in New York City, talking to you from our offices in Manhattan on 38th Street and 8th Avenue. First, want to give a shout out. We have a few people on the line who are here from Florida, and we know you guys are preparing for a big storm down there. So for those of you signed in from Florida, thanks so much. We have people from a few different parts of the country here with us this evening, and I assume some more people are going to join us. We're going to spend about 30 minutes together, and we're going to keep everybody on mute so that we can just, not hear a lot of background noise, talk a little bit about what happens at Tel Yehudah. And we're looking forward to, getting some questions that'll come in on the Zoom group chat. So if you have questions, some of you also submitted some questions beforehand. So we're looking forward to hearing those questions. Just going to get our presentation to the beginning, and then we're going to get started. So just a moment for that. So here we go. Like I said before, my name is David Weinstein. I'm director of Tel Yehudah. I've had the privilege of doing this for 10 summers. Spent 20 summers at Tel Yehudah right so far since I was a camper. I was also a camper at Camp Young Judea Sprout Lake when it first opened in 1976, and sent both of my kids through Sprout Lake and Tel Yehudah. And my wife also was a camper at Sprout Lake and Tel Yehudah, so we're sort of deeply engaged in this community and very excited to welcome, hopefully, your kids to TY this coming summer. So I want to introduce a couple of other people who are going to be on the call this evening. One is Macklin Weinstein, who's our assistant director, and Andrew Reckles, who's the manager of our Chavurah program. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a few moments. And not on the phone with us tonight, but somebody who would interact with a whole lot is Sharon Wahaba, who's our registrar. She's the person when you call our offices and have some questions about payments or registration or whatever. It's the person you're going to get a chance to really get a chance to speak to. And Noah Wilker, who is our operations director, who's working behind the scenes, making a whole lot of things, happen. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about what happens at Tel Yehudah, and we're going to start by, what is Tel Yehudah? Tel Yehudah is been around for 70 years. We're the national camp of Young Judea. I know that most people on this call, your kids have gone to one of our Young Judea camps, whether it's Camp Young Judea, Texas, or Midwest, or Sprout Lake in New York, or down at Camp Judea in North Carolina. That's most people on the call right now. We're the senior camp. We're the teen camp. We're the camp that kids from all over the country and all over the world come to sort of continue that Young Judea experience that they've begun in our regional camps and meet kids who have had similar experiences in a really a teen environment. We're rare in that way. In most Jewish summer camps, kids stay in the same camp they've been in all their lives. And Young Judea has sort of a unique system where kids come from all over the country to be part of a larger global Jewish community. And we'll talk about who those types of people are in just a moment. So, like I said, we're a very diverse national camp. If you look at this map coming up on the screen now, you'll see they're coming from all of these Young Judea camps. Some of you probably didn't know that there were other Young Judea camps, just like the ones that your kids went to. They're singing a lot of the same songs, doing a lot of the same dances, they're all competing in Kaviyah, Bikurim, and they're all focused on building Jewish identity and, of course, connection to Israel, social activism, and obviously having a really good time. So they're coming from all these camps, and they're coming from all over the country. Now, this is from last year. This is not Trump versus Hillary on these states right now. These states that you see in the light blue or light green, these are all states where campers came from last summer. So almost half the states in the United States campers are coming from, and this summer we expect them coming from even more places. We have kids coming from Puerto Rico. Last time we had kids from Germany, from Italy, Curacao, and we have many campers, growing number every year, who are coming from Israel, which adds really a special flavor, a special dimension to this very unique community. Besides the fact they're coming from different places, they're very diverse in their backgrounds. There's kids who have grown up in Orthodox homes, kids who have grown up in secular homes, Reform, conservative, Reconstructionist, politically progressive, politically conservative, kids who come with special needs, kids of all different sizes, shapes, races, sexual identities. We're a very, very diverse and welcoming community, and it really makes us unique in that way. There's really no other teen community that's like that. And kids really feel welcome for who they are when they come to Tel Yehudah. And that's very important for teens, obviously, today as they grow up. One of our unique programs is our second session program, which really don't even call second session anymore. It's our global teen community. While first session is very national, second session is very global. We've got kids coming from all over the world now, second session. They're coming from Israel, they're coming from Europe, and on top of that, during our second session, we have a very special program we began a few years ago for kids who are coming from the Russian-speaking community. And that program has been going on now for 8 years. And I want to turn things over to Andrew for a moment to talk a little bit about what we do that's so special for this part of the community.
Hi, everybody. Once again, my name is Andrew Reckles. I'm the Chavurah Program Manager. I just want to speak a little bit about what Chavurah is and why it's so unique in Camp Tel Yehudah. This is a program for teens from the Russian-speaking community, and just like camp is a pluralist camp, our program is also a pluralist program. We have kids who were born in the former Soviet Union and came to this country 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and we have kids whose parents were essentially born here, and they have a small connection to the Russian community. And what we do in camp, what we do in Chavurah is we try to connect them to that culture. We are part of TY, so we do a lot of programs together with the rest of camp and with the rest of the global teen community, but our educational programs are a little bit more focused on the Russian culture, the Russian identity, specifically, the Russian Jewish culture, Russian Jewish identity, and where they came from as a whole.
All right, thank you, Andrew. So on top of Chavurah, during second session, we've begun a partnership just 2 years ago with a camp called Camp Kimama in Israel. It's a funny camp in Israel because it was started by a lot of Israelis who worked in American Jewish camps, especially in Camp Judea in North Carolina. The founder of it was the music specialist there for 7 years. Went back to Israel and said, Israelis need American Jewish summer camp. So we started Camp Kimama, and every year now we're bringing about 30 Israeli campers and some European campers to Israel. And during those second session, those kids are fully integrated into the rest of the camp. So if you want your camper to really meet Israelis, to have a bilingual experience, that's going on during our global teen community during second session. So now I want to turn things over a bit to Macklin, who's our assistant director, tell you a little bit about what is life like at Camp Tel Yehudah for our teens.
Thanks, David. Yeah, as David said, I'm Macklin. I'm the assistant director. And as David was saying, at Tel Yehudah, we're a little older. We have only teenagers. So with that kind of comes a little bit of a shift in the schedule. We really want the teens to have some flexibility in their time at camp and to really be able to kind of guide their own experience, whether it's with different specialty areas or educational programming. So the way some of those things come up is within our schedule, we have a few different blocks that allow kids to choose. So one of those blocks is called Zman Bechira, which is just kind of like their elective choice. So they can choose from, usually we have around 20 to 25 different options, ranging from any sport activity you can think of, to jewelry making, to magazines, to other creative writing, poetry, etc. And this really gives them the ability to kind of stretch their own minds and their own imaginations and connect with kids that are interested in the same things that they're interested in. Another time that they have options to choose kind of their own path is we have in our oldest age group, they choose their own educational paths. So during our first session, they're able to pick a social issue and learn about it and then go to DC and advocate a little bit. We'll hear a little bit more about that later from Andrew. Some of our younger kids get to choose different times during trip week. There's five or so different trips that they can choose from. Again, we'll hear that a little bit from Andrew. And then they also have time during Chofesh in the day, which might be a little bit different from junior camps. Chofesh is free time where they get to hang out, they get to interact with kids. But we also have a very wide menu of activities that they can do during that day, whether it be opening up ropes course for an extra session, or specifically one activity that maybe they didn't get to do their first time there, or having Rikud going, or having kids hanging out with a guitar and playing music and having a bit of a jam session. Again, the goal here is to really allow the kids to choose some of their education and to choose what their experience is. As you can see, this is a daily schedule here. So, you know, some of these things are going to be very familiar. Some of them will be exactly the same as their junior camps, just like meals and educational pulot. But as I was saying, if you look around 3 o'clock, we have our Chofesh time. We also have a daily check-in every evening at 7:20, just before dinner. Each group of kids would sit down with their cabin, sometimes with a bit of a bigger group, their chuv, which again is a little different from their junior camps where we say shikva, or not shikva, we say edah. But they sit down, they talk, they kind of unpack the day a little bit and just kind of try to process what's going on and what's happening with their experience at camp. We really want to focus on leadership and activism. So again, like I was saying, they get their choice. They can, especially you can see from our trip in DC, they pick an issue. We have an awesome day at camp called Tzedakah Palooza, where all of the issues are presented to the entire camp. And the kids, each kid has a choice to where they would like to donate some money or learn even more about that specific issue. And we really, with the goal in mind of getting our kids to be leaders and to become active in their communities and to learn what it's like to take on a role that's a little bit maybe bigger than they're used to, or a little bit more in charge, or a little bit heavier and more intense than what they might experience at a junior camp, or what they might get sometimes in their normal lives.
I just want to add a few things about our Hajjah trip to Washington, D.C. You know, in this heightened sort of political season that we're in, and a lot of our kids, I think, are sort of also interested in what's going on. I know most of your kids are probably not ready for Hajjah that's entering 11th grade, but something to look forward to is this opportunity, and a lot of kids say this when they get back, for the first time, to feel like they're being heard. When they go to Washington, D.C., and they're sitting on the floor in the Congress building and having breakfast with Al Franken, or they're meeting with Paul Ryan, and they're meeting people all across the political spectrum and having an opportunity to sort of say what they believe and what they want, and to ask good questions as well. In Washington, and staying on the campus of George Washington University, having their first college trip, all of that is an opportunity that I think for most teens they never get and feel. And certainly our teens feel powerless. I think a lot of us feel powerless right now, but our teens really feel powerless in the world they live in. And so many of our teens, when they get older and they come back to work in camp and they're in college or after college, they point back to these experiences they had in Hajjah and our Hamamah program as the things that really prepared them for so much that they're doing in life. We've got quite a few kids who graduated from this program who now are interning on the Hill or are involved in various political causes, or taking on leadership in all different ways, and it's because of these programs. So I want to talk a little bit, actually I'm going to turn things over to Andrew again. All of our kids in Tel Yehudah take a 4-day out-of-camp trip, at least 4 days, some other trips as well. So I wanted to give Andrew an opportunity to tell us a bit about some of the trips that your kids might be taking this summer, depending on what their age group is.
Thank you, David. So we're going to start off with the youngest age group, which is our Alumim group. You'll notice that we have Alumim and Kfir. These are both our rising 9th graders, meaning they'll be going into 9th grade next year. So these trips include a trip to a major city. Last year it was Philly and also to Niagara Falls. Philly was first session, Niagara Falls was second session, along with camping, hiking, and touring. So during these 4 days, they do get to actually visit and see what's going on in these major cities, and they also get to do a little bit of rafting, a little bit of bonding. Sorry, rafting is a separate thing. I'll get to that. A little bit of camping, a little bit of hiking. We try to show them what they'll be experiencing throughout the next few years in TY as well. That goes along with our Kfir trip as well. The only difference between Kfir and Alumim is that one goes to Philly, and one goes to Niagara Falls. Next, we have our Yachad and Bonim trips, which are our rising 10th graders. And this is when you really get to pick what you want to do. This is another one of those things that Max spoke about where you really get to choose your track. Last year, we offered biking, photography, 2 trips to New York. One was a TEDx trip where they did some volunteering, and one was a photography trip. And they also got to go kayaking and hiking. So once again, you get to choose what to do. If you do an outdoors trips, it is intense. It is a lot of biking or a lot of rafting, and you sleep outside and you make your own food, and we really prepare you for all of these things. It's a great thing for teens to do, especially when they're always connected to Facebook and Twitter and all of these things. It's really a great disconnect. Moving on to our Hadracha and Hamama trips. Hadracha is our oldest trip. As David and Mac have mentioned, they do go to Washington, D.C., and they stay in a college campus. This might be the first time that some of your teens are visiting a college campus, so they'll get to see the actual college. Last year we went to American University. Before that, we've been to George Washington, so they really get to experience what is dorm life, of course, for a high school teenager and not for a college student. They get to visit with different political leaders. They get to visit actually with different organizations based on something they're passionate about. When they pick their tikkun groups in camp, when they pick what they're passionate about, they will meet with organizations, and then they will lobby for that specific cause. That's first session. Second session is a New York City trip with Hamama, and that's our leadership group. So they get to meet with different leaders from different organizations, and they go to different places such as camps that we've done in the past, and they get to actually prepare activities and lead activities for different kids, different age groups, depending where they are. Last year, we went to several day camps in New York and in Westchester, I believe, and these are the kind of things that we've done in the past 2 years. This is also a fairly new program, very successful. This past year, 2016, was our second year. Along with the intensive trips that we have for 4 days, we also have other out-of-camp trips. We have rafting, which everybody gets to go to. We have Gimel, which is our off-site campground that everybody has at least one night there. You get to really, once again, bond with everybody, make your own food. You sleep in tents, you pitch a tent, you learn how to make a fire. You really learn how to be a woodsman or woman. And finally, we do go to a amusement park. This is something that's fairly new, but our kids seem to love it, so we're going to have to go ahead and continue it. Last year, we went to Six Flags Great Adventure. The kids had a blast. The kids who are not from the States had an even bigger blast. And this upcoming summer, we're going to go to another giant amusement park. And right now, we're doing research to figure out what that amusement park will be.
And I should point out the amusement park trip is a special second session only trip. We don't go first session. We've got lots of amusements right in camp first session. So trips are a big part of it. It's the sort of thing we can do in a teen camp that we might not be able to do, with younger kids. We can trust kids to be not just on these trips, but also take responsibility during their trips. They're the ones who are helping cook their food. They're the ones who are, they're in committees to run all different things during the trips. They're learning that responsibility and leadership even at the youngest ages while they're in camp. Tel Yehudah is a camp for Jewish teens. And as opposed to most of the other Jewish summer camps that are out there, we don't have one particular flavor at Tel Yehudah. We've got a whole bunch of different flavors. And we believe really passionately that this sort of Jewish pluralism, this variety of Jewish teens, this building a real Jewish community with people of respect and tolerance for each other, this is probably going to save the Jewish people. I know it sounds a little big and lofty, but we know when we look at Israel and we look at the American Jewish community as well, we're so divided as a people, and we're trying to build a model. What does it mean for kids who, at home pray 3 times a day, who go to Orthodox synagogues, who go to day school, to be in the same community with Israeli kids, who their celebration of Jewish identity is one that takes place more in public, with conservative kids, with kids who don't have a day school background, with kids who are coming from the Russian-speaking community, or listening to kids who are Italian and German talk about what it's like to be Jewish there, and to live together, to pray together, to go rafting together, to make best friends who are different than them, and to learn what it means to actually respect Jews who are different themselves. That plays out in terms of what Jewish ritual looks like in camp. So camp is kosher. It's Shomer Shabbat, so we create a Shabbat environment that every kid can enjoy and experience the peacefulness of Shabbat. But we also understand that most of our kids, that's not their experience at home. And so, if a kid wants to sit on their bed and listen to their MP3 player on Shabbat, that's fine. In terms of Jewish ritual, on Shabbat morning, we're going to give kids a variety of opportunities of what sort of Jewish ritual they want to participate in. So we've got some kids on Shabbat morning who are praying in a traditional egalitarian minyan and reading Torah. We've got other kids who are doing yoga or meditation. We've got another group that has a more sort of reform or reconstructionist bent to it, where guitar is being played and it's much more musical. We've got an Orthodox minyan with a machitza. And it's not that we want kids just to go to the thing they do at home. It's we want kids to explore and try different types of Jewish ritual as they build their own Jewish identity. So I want to turn things over to Mac, because not only is it about building Jewish identity, but Tel Yehudah is about building a deep and long-lasting commitment to Israel.
Right. So as David was saying, one major part of Tel Yehudah and Young Judea is making this connection to Israel and learning about Israel and discussing Israel. And this happens all the time at camp. It's something that we hold really important, and we try to work into different programming, to different areas at camp. On the back of our rock wall, we have a Shvil Yisrael, or it kind of mimics an Israel trail that goes from between the north and the south. So it's really just everywhere at camp. We also have specific programming hours that are dedicated to only current events going on in Israel. On Shabbat, we have something called Israel Update that the entire camp does. And we talk about current events. We talk about different struggles that people might have with Israel. And again, as David was saying, we're really open to anyone's thoughts on Israel, whether they agree or disagree with something that happened, with something that maybe Bibi did, whether they feel very strongly connected, whether they feel no connection, whether they like or dislike Israel. We really want to have those conversations. We want to talk about them. And we're really hoping that each kid builds their own identity and connection with Israel, as well as their own thoughts and their own ideas about what they think Israel really is and what it means to them, and where its place in this world is. Part of bringing Israel to Tel Yehudah comes with our staff. We hire a mishlacha every summer. We have between 25 and 30 Israeli staff members that are either finishing the army within a few months, they just finished the army, maybe they just started the army, or they're doing a summer or a year abroad volunteering or something like that. And they kind of really start the Israel programming, and they come in and they talk with the kids, and the kids can talk with them about life in Israel, about what it's like to live in a totally different country, to live in a war zone potentially, to live in such a different place, and then to have that connection so far away, and what that means to them. That takes me kind of to our next. Sorry, do we have something in between, David?
No, we're going to talk about the exceptional staff and role models we have at Tel Yehudah.
Yeah, so
tell them about our staff. They're amazing.
So as I was saying, our mishlacha are incredible. Every summer, they always blow us away. They seem to get better and better, and they bring an essence that we can't bring with our other staff that we hire from all over the world. So we hire about 150 or so staff members each summer. They're all amazing. They're incredible. They come with the best intentions. And as I was saying, they come from all over the world. We've had just this last summer staff members from Russia, Israel, Argentina, Poland, Mexico. I'm sure I'm forgetting somewhere, but quite a diverse community that we try and create. And then we also have a large community that is Judeans and people from year course and kids that grew up at junior camps. They grew up at CJ, and they grew up in the Midwest, and they grew up at Sprout Lake and going to Texas. And they understand this transition. They understand going from your home camp in North Carolina and this place that you love and you've been going to since you were a kid and you have such a connection with, and then coming to a new camp with your friends and other groups also. And a lot of our staff have done that, and they know what that process is like, and they know how it feels. And so it really gives them an opportunity to bond with the teens and to help them through that kind of challenging moment of, what does this mean now that I have my same group of friends, but there are all these other groups of friends that we're all the same age, maybe we should hang out. So as I was saying, a lot of our staff have strong connections with Young Judea. They go on year course. They participate in year-round, they will staff year-round programs such as Alternative Winter Break or National Midwinter. And they really come with nothing but the goal of bonding and connecting with the teens and really helping the teens to create their own identity and create their own place in this world, because camp was such a formative place for them that they come back and want to help facilitate that experience for their teens. I couldn't tell you how many times this conversation comes up in interviews where the number one reason people want to come back to camp is because they had such an awesome counselor and they had such an amazing time that they want to help someone else have such an amazing time, and they want to be that awesome counselor to somebody, and they all are. To somebody, they all have an incredible effect, and it's really amazing.
Yeah, I think as a parent of two teens who have graduated from Tel Yehudah now, one has gone on to work at Tel Yehudah, I think the opportunity for our teens to have these role models that are slightly a bit older than them, that have gone through so many of the same experiences, and to help guide them through this at the most pivotal time in their lives is maybe the most important thing about camp. And that's true of camps in general, but we're especially picky and excited about the staff that we bring and that would work with your kids. All this is good. All this is well and good. But we need to make sure your kids are healthy, that they are eating well, that they're safe, etc. So I want to turn things back over to Andrew to talk a little bit about health and wellness and safety. How we're taking your most precious people in your lives, and I want to tell you how we're going to keep them safe.
So let's get to the stuff that all parents want to know about and is probably the most important thing in camp. We pride ourselves in being, first of all, very safe and following all rules and guidelines that are set for us. So just to start off with the supervision, we meet and we exceed all New York State and ACA, which is American Camping Association, supervisional standards. Our staff are trained in adolescent development. We have a whole staff orientation and staff training before the kids come. We actually head up to camp about a month before the first child arrives to make sure that everything is prepared, not only for the staff that are directly involved with the kids, but also for the leadership team and the supervisory staff. Even during free time, we have structure, meaning we have zone coverage like it's written over here. We have different staff members in different places, and we have actual activities that are running so that the kids don't just have unstructured free time. They can go somewhere and do something if they choose. Or if they choose to go back to the bunk and take a nap for that hour or so, they can do that, and we have staff there as well. As far as healthcare is concerned, our mirpa'ah, our medical station, we have at least 3 nurses at all times that are on duty. Sometimes, and most of the time, we have more. We have over 30 people in camp that are CPR, first aid, and AED certified. We get recertified beginning of every year just to make sure that there's somebody in a specific area that is prepared for any kind of situation. When it comes to medicine and things like that, we make sure that all medicines are taken depending on when your child needs to take them. If he needs to take them before some sort of meal, the nurse will be waiting at that meal with the medicine. If the child needs to take it before bedtime, we make sure that somebody brings that child to the nurse's station and they take that medicine. We're very careful about medicine and anything that shouldn't be in their bunk. Okay, all of the medicine is in the mirpa'ah, in the nurse's station. There's no medicine in the bunk just in case. Okay, and we know and we speak to you and we make sure that we know which child takes what. When it comes to food, we have 2 full service kitchens. Again, everything is kosher. They're fully staffed. We have a food and beverage director. We have 2 chefs. We have 3 chefs, including a chef who deals with special dietary needs. Meaning if somebody's allergic to some sort of food, we know that in advance and there's always an option for them to eat something that they can't eat. Gluten-free, allergies, so on and so forth. We also have many options. We have multiple salad bars. We have a cold option. We have a hot option. So if you don't like what we're serving that day specifically, you can make yourself a sandwich. You can make yourself a salad. I know that food tends to be a big issue in camps. For those of you who have come from other camps, I can promise you that this will be the best food in any camp you've ever eaten. I say that because food is very important to me, and I love the food at TY. I think that's what we have for you on food.
So you're wondering how you're going to know what's going on when you send us your kids. Well, some of you, will be really happy when it's quiet in your home, and others of you are going to be at your computer every day waiting for the next picture to see when they come up. We have a wide variety. We try to keep in touch in a whole bunch of different ways with you before the summer and certainly during the summer. So just like probably the regional camp that your teen went to earlier, we're going to be posting pictures. We use the same camp minder system that all of our other camps use. Log in there and see those. We're going to be posting also videos weekly on YouTube. We're going to be sending regular emails every Friday afternoon with a recap of what happened that week and articles written by the kids in our B'Machane newsletter. We're also, trying to keep up with all the young people these days on Facebook, on Twitter, on daily pictures on Instagram. Somebody said we should use Snapchat. You can tell me if you want us to Snapchat you stuff about your kids. But besides that, we're going to be looking forward to hearing from you during the summer. If you have any questions or concerns, we have a full-time parent liaison, sort of a camp mom. Her responsibility is to take your calls, take your emails. If you want to check on how somebody's doing. We also have on staff a social worker. We know some of our teens, when they're away from home, they might be struggling with some homesickness. They might have some concerns of bringing a camp with them. So between our social worker and our parent liaison, we're keeping in touch with you as well about any issues that might be coming up with your camper while they're in camp. So some of you are calling in from all over the country, and you're saying to yourself, well, how are they going to get there? I used to just put them on a bus or drop them off at camp. So Andrew, tell them a little bit about how they can get all the way to Tel Yehudah from Michigan, from Austin, Texas, from Miami Beach, from Los Angeles, from Israel.
I would love to. So if you don't live in the immediate New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut area, and it is a little bit difficult for you to drive your child to camp, the best way to get them to camp is to have them fly in. We send coach buses to Newark Airport, and we pick up kids from the airport the first day of every session. They arrive, we tell you a specific time to arrive, we tell you a specific gate, and we send our staff out to the airport. So our staff will actually be waiting for your kids as soon as they get their baggage. The same thing with drop-off. As soon as camp is over, we have a list of what flights kids are getting on, with whom they're getting on these flights, if there's other kids traveling from your state or from your country, and we make sure that our staff drop them off at that gate and wait with them. This happens all the time. We do this, I know it sounds like it's a lot of kids coming from the airport, but it's actually we do this all the time, I'm sorry. As far as if you do live within driving distance, we're about 2.5 hours away from New York City. You can drive in, drop your kid off, have some lunch with us. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to meet you in person. And I'm sure that your kid wants to show you around camp before shooing you away to start the session. As far as our Refer a Camper program, and this is something great for all parents. If you have a friend, if your kid has a friend, anybody who you know that wants to come to camp and has never been to our camp, has never been to Tel Yehudah, when they register, you get $250 off your tuition. Now, there's no limit to how many kids you can sign up. We would love for you to sign up as many kids as possible, and for every new camper, and I stress new, meaning they've never been to Camp TY before, you'll get a $250 tuition off.
Or they've never been to Tel Yehudah or any Young Judea camp?
I'm sorry, Young Judea camp. I said Tel Yehudah.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So we're getting towards the end of this. I know we said that we would try to get this in about a half an hour, but I'm glad many of you are sticking with us. I know obviously on parents' mind always is, well, what does this cost and how can I make it cost less? So, camp is an expensive endeavor. We hire over 160 staff members every summer. We keep, we have a facility of 150 acres, 75 buildings. We have an amazing aquatic center, ropes course, sports fields, And so all of this obviously costs money to run a camp like this and these amazing trips that our kids are going on. So a few words about tuition. All of this, by the way, is on our website. I know you don't have to memorize all of this right now, as well as everything we've talked about is on our website. The cost for first session for this year is $49.50. It's 4 weeks, the program, which is longer than most camps. And the CYJ Tech study is 3 weeks, and most of the camps are 3 or 3.5 weeks. It's we made it longer just starting last year because kids didn't want to leave. So we decided, let's just have you stay longer. And, but if you register before October 20th, there's $200 discount, so it's $47.50. Certain trips have some fees associated with them, so you can look at that information as well. Our second session, which is 3.5 weeks, is a little bit less expensive. It's $44.50, and there's a $500 early bird discount. You're saying, well, why is second session less money than the first session? It's a little bit shorter, and also it's smaller. And we do encourage people to try out our global teen community, so we're offering a bit of a break on people coming during second session. So these early bird specials are good until October 20th, so we do certainly encourage you to register before then and save a few dollars. If you'd like to send us, 2 kids from your family or 3 kids, we've got a whole bunch of kids at home. There's $200 discount for each additional sibling. Andrew talked a little bit before about the refer a camper discount of $250. And we have more and more kids every year spending the full summer with us, which is really a tremendous opportunity to sort of be immersed in a Jewish community and a Jewish teen community. Our program is very different first session and second session. The field camp is very different first session and second session. So when campers choose to come for the full summer, there's an additional discount of $1,400 on top of the early bird discounts. And you can see the full dates for those things below. We know, however, that camp is not in reach for everybody. And so we do offer both tuition assistance and travel assistance, just like the other camps that you might have been sending your kids to. Well, we do have an online application for tuition assistance. And I'm going to work with pretty much every family so that money is not the reason that a camper can't come to Tel Yehudah. And if you're in the position to help us do that by providing scholarship money as well, it's a community approach to make sure everybody comes to camp. So there is assistance for campers who are flying in. We do offer a travel assistance program. So if you were in need of tuition assistance, you can also apply to get a rebate back on the cost of their airfare, everything above the first $100. There's a few other sort of odds and ends stipulations around that, but we try to make sure that these are not the things that get in the way. So we want to make sure that your teens can afford to be in camp and you can afford to send them. So we're reaching the end of our presentation. We hope to hear from you by October 20th. Look at that. See you next summer. Early bird ends October 20th. Register now. These are a couple of our campers from a couple of summers ago. Our conversation doesn't need to end here. I'm going to answer a few questions in a moment that were emailed into us, but give us a call. Call us up. I'm happy to talk to all of you with further questions. I want to thank, I think it's Kobe, who's been sending a whole bunch of questions in during this. If other people have questions to send in, please do so. Thank you, Kobe. And again, feel free to follow up with more questions with us. Watch our videos. You can watch our official video, but I suggest you watch our videos on YouTube. That are more like, there's highlight videos from last summer. You can see what camp's really like. If your teenager wants to talk to a teen who's been to camp before, let us know. We'll set you up with a teen to talk to. And we hope to see everybody in camp. Well, I'm sure the adults would love to camp too, but we hope to see the kids in camp next summer. Just a couple of quick questions that were emailed into us. Somebody asked about travel, so I think that's been answered. Certainly, if you have further questions about travel, let us know. Anybody who's on the call from Camp Judea, I know some of you are supposed to be on this call. Some of you have asked about Chalutzim, which is an outward bound program at Camp Judea. We do have a special discount for kids who are going to be leaving TY a few days early, so they can take a bus down to North Carolina and do that outward bound program. We work very closely with Camp Judea to make sure that kids can participate in both. And there's a $500 discount off of Tel Yehudah if they're going to be leaving, I think it's 5 days early, to participate in the Chalutzim program. About 20 or 30 kids do it every summer. It's not a big deal for us. So those are some of the questions that were emailed in to us. I want to thank you all for participating. Please send us, I would love if you want to send me an email and tell me how wonderful or not wonderful this was, how helpful it was would be great. Any suggestions you have on how we can do it better. Hope the technology worked. For those of you, again, who are down in Florida right now, we wish you Godspeed. if you need anything, we're part of a large community. We'd love to help you out. So good night, Lila Tov from New York, and hope to see you in Barryville, New York soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night.